He has accurately predicted some of the most shocking events of the last 3 decades and has been documented on television, radio, and in print all around the world.
He's Anthony Carr, and over the next 30 minutes, we'll introduce you to many celebrities, as well as regular people, who will describe how Anthony Carr's advice helped them grapple with the issues that challenge us every day. These are not actors, and no fees were paid for their testimonials. What you're about to see is real and unscripted, so sit back and join us for a glimpse into the future, as seen by Anthony Carr.
Hi, I'm Anthony Carr. You know me as the world's most documented psychic and expert on the paranormal. Now, here's your chance to be part of the fun, excitement, and mystery of my very own live psychic and variety show.
Coming up on today's show, how a mother's love for her stricken daughter turned into a happy Valentine.
I got to the hospital and Andrea was in a coma and on life support.
Later, we'll catch up with rock and roll legend Rumpin' Ronnie Hawkins. We'll see his star-studded video and learn how Anthony Carr predicted that he would soon get a phone call from a very important person.
I'd like to learn out how you do that stuff. But what's happened, the President of the United States did give me a call, and boy, I love him for it.
Welcome back to the Anthony Carr Psychic Special, 2nd edition. Here's your host, popular singer and entertainer, Patty Janetta.
Hello, and I'm thrilled to welcome back Anthony Carr. He's the world's most documented psychic and a leading expert on the paranormal. He's a showbiz personality who's been eagerly sought out by a host of political and entertainment and business stars, such as Peggy Lee, Richard Burton, Mikhail Gorbachev, and Benny King. Welcome, Anthony Carr.
Hi there. How are you doing, Patty?
Fine. How are you?
50-50, not bad. So,
Well, it's been a very exciting year for you, I know, Anthony.
hasn't been bad. Hasn't been too shabby, I want to tell you.
Anyways, a lot of people have questions inside. You know, they want to know, how long has this been happening for you? When did you know that you had these psychic and mystic powers?
When I was a kid, I used to run to my mother with these crazy dreams, and she used to chalk it up to a vivid imagination. So, for instance, I got up one night and I ran screaming to my mother that I saw a grandpa lying in a box. And, of course, he just had a bad dream, so on and so forth. And 3 days later, of course, he passed away and he was lying in a box. And you don't pay much attention to it because we all are psychic. We all have these intuitive feelings. You know, people call it gut feelings, hunches, premonitions. For instance, if you think of a name or someone you haven't seen for years and the phone suddenly rings and you know it's that person, and sure enough it is.
How can they get an accurate reading over the phone?
Psychics can actually read better through the telephone or over the telephone than actually tete-a-tete, face-to-face.
Yes,
because the electrical impulses of the human body, or the whole neurological system, is easily transmitted through the electrical impulses of the phone. And the other thing is it's completely objective because you can't make a prejudgment of the individual because you can't see them. So the only thing you're picking up is through the ability that is really separate from you or separate from the reader. So it's completely objective and it's completely unbiased. You see.
You know, probably some people at home would like to know, when obviously you can't answer all your calls personally. You know, we know you can, and you have a fine set of psychics working with you. Now, are they personally handpicked by you?
Yes, I picked all the psychics myself. I know them all personally, and they have to undergo rigorous questioning and tests before I allow them to work for my line.
You're about to meet an extraordinarily courageous woman. You'll hear how Anthony Carr helped keep her faith alive, even though her daughter was close to death after a tragic accident.
On December the 19th, 1985, my daughter Andrea was involved in a near-fatal car accident. I got to the hospital and Andrea was in a coma and on life support. It seemed very hopeless. On Christmas Eve, I called Anthony Carr and I explained to him what had happened. And he said, "Pat, it's going to be all right. Andrea will come through this. As a matter of fact, I see the both of you leaving the hospital around Valentine's Day." Andrea did come through it, and we did leave the hospital. It was February the 14th, Valentine's Day. Anthony Carr's predictions are very accurate.
Coming up, a chilling psychic warning saves a family from disaster.
The very house that this young woman was thinking of buying exploded, killing 2 people.
Veteran rock and roller Ronnie Hawkins describes how Anthony Carr predicted that he would be taking an unexpected journey.
Playing Europe, and Germany was the first of the European countries to buy my product.
All this and more after these important words. Welcome back to the second edition of the Anthony Carr Psychic Special. We've all heard of stories where a psychic warns of danger, and then sometime later, the inexplicable happens with tragic consequences. This next case illustrates just how important these warnings can be.
Anthony was in my office, and one of the personnel in our office was thinking of buying a house. She was talking to Anthony, and he indicated to her that he was very concerned with the possibility of an explosion and that she should be very careful. Shortly thereafter, she was looking at different houses and had decided to put an offer on a home that she thought would be very suitable for herself and her husband, and something made her back away at the last minute. Earlier this year, the very house that this young woman was thinking of buying exploded, killing 2 people.
Coming up, you'll hear how Anthony Carr predicted one of the most dramatic returns to the top of the charts. Up next, an enlightening talk with legendary soul singer Ben E. King. There's a lot more to come on the second edition of Anthony Carr's Psychic Special after this break. In the art world, there are sometimes more on canvas than even the artist can see. Listen now as one of Anthony Carr's predictions turns up as colors on a black and white drawing.
I was invited to do a large sculpture to do the Pope, the Holy Father. So I was his guest over in Rome, and I made different sketches for my sculpture. And I just came back, and on one of my trips in here, Mr. Anthony came to my office in here, and I said, Anthony, look, I just came back from Rome in here, and I made some sketches of the Holy Father. Would you want to see it? They're all in black and white. And he said, yes. So I showed it to him, and he said, my God, they're all red and white. I said, Tony, are you colorblind? He said, no, I see he's going to be assassinated.
Soon after, there was an attempted assassination on the Pope's life. Now, Canadian artist Cedar Christie.
He suddenly said he saw a flash around the head of the Statue of Liberty, and that there was going to be some kind of an explosion there, perhaps a piece of sabotage, and we were all amazed. Well, in a few weeks, this incident happened. The museum at the base of the Statue of Liberty was blown up.
Sometimes psychics can see when a tragic event is about to unfold.
I'm Alea Rodriguez. On January 7th, 1982, I was with Anthony Carr when he made the prediction that there would be a fire in the northwest part of Toronto, that there would be death and destruction, and the military would somehow be involved. Less than a month later, there was a fire in North York. Unfortunately, a young boy was killed and several firemen injured. The house itself was owned by the Downsview Air Force Base. This is just another documented prediction by Anthony Carr.
Anthony's gift can leave even the most ardent skeptics speechless.
My name is Sam Bernard. I've known Anthony Carr for the past 20 years. Anthony and I have been through a lot of things together, and he amazes me in many ways. I remember one time they were sitting in a restaurant, and Anthony said to me, oh my God, he said, Peter Sellers just had a heart attack and died. And I looked at him in amazement, and I said, you know, are you okay, Tony? He said, no, I'm fine. He said, but he just died. Well, you know, I sort of thought it over a bit, and I was a little bit, it was peculiar for me to hear a thing like this coming from him at this particular moment. Later on, Peter Sellers had a heart attack and died. I'll never forget that incident as long as I live.
There's never been a more dramatic return to music superstardom than when the song Stand By Me shot to #1 decades after it had been first released. For a struggling singer named Ben E. King, it took a movie